I lead the team that looks at basically all product marketing post-acquisition, from your deployment all the way through to help you use, adopt, and so on. So today, and many of you are participating in this track, Adoption Change Management, this is something that is in the forefront of all our conversations with customers, and it's something that, as we've seen the demand and the requests from our customers, we felt like it was worth a full day. We actually did a pre-day on Sunday, had a full session, a full day, and then now we have about 10 sessions here. So super excited to be here and kick off, and I have great a partner and a customer with us today, because really what I want to do is share some quick insights and turn the time over to them, because they will share reality, right? They will share how it's going. Keith from Amedisys is here, and they're right in the thick of rolling out, doing change management in their org. And Jerem Reed, who's from Carpool, is one of our change management consultants, partners, that spends all day, every day with customers like you, trying to work through this. So I really am excited to share this with you. And to start, we wanted to share a video that I think really helps to understand what we're in the middle of here.
In the past, the ideas of a few have influenced the beliefs of many. In today's evolving and diverse world, the conviction of a handful, the support of enough, and the embrace of many is driving change. There is an open market on creativity and influence. Anyone with an idea and the courage to share can sway opinions and drive change. The conventional fabric of organizational hierarchy and status quo are being disrupted by the democratization of ideas and communication. Workplace innovation is founded on social behaviors that challenge norms and sow seeds of empowerment. While technology facilitates this transformation, a modern workplace requires a cultural shift that can't be enabled by IT alone. This transformation is a human experience, a personal change in the way we work together. We can all contribute. We can all play our part. This is the human side of corporate change.
So the human side of corporate change is something that we're all in the middle of. As we change technologies, as we work through different things, what we're dealing with is humans that are used to working a certain way. And how do we help them as we get into new products, as we try new technology? How do we help them adjust? What's the best way to do that? So me in my personal life and my career have seen this over and over. When I was at Adobe, Omniture at the time, to Adobe, we rolled out Concur, right? We had an internal, self-guided way to book all our travel. And then we showed up, and all of a sudden, we were asked to use Concur. And the reality was, none of us knew how to use it. And so, as a consultant, and I'm going to meet customers, I'm being asked to book all my travel this way now, all of a sudden. So within a week, all of us, 500 employees that were all consultants, instantly, we start booking through our own methods, right? Using our corporate cards, but so that's how that was rolled out. About a month later, leadership came in and said, this is why we're changing. This is the opportunity that we have. We now understood why it was important to make the change. The teams came out, did communication, did education, helped us understand why it was important. When I was at Salesforce, we show up one morning, and all our conference rooms went from conference room 920 to Tiki or to Mahalo, Hawaiian terms. Instantly changed. So when we go in the tool to book our conference rooms, it was chaos. Turned into Lord of the Flies for a week, where everyone was just doing what they could, taking over conference rooms, all these things. About 2 weeks later, they came out in the tool. Then we could have both the conference room number along with that, right? Then here at Microsoft, OneDrive, going to the cloud. After my PC died on me and I lost everything, about 6 months in to my stint here, I realized it's time. And For me, it was getting used to the safety and security of realizing that it's okay. I don't have to, literally, I had a USB stick that I would just once a month download my stuff just to make sure it was backed up, right? We all know people in the organization that still do that, right? So this is the type of thing that all of us have dealt with at work, at home. Really, it goes back to change and how we deal with change. And that's what we're tapping into in the reality of when we're trying to work and help people adopt and use new technologies. And so as we've been working with customers, we've heard some themes over and over. Theme number one, the need for value. How do we get value out of this technology? And what is value? We start with usage, right? Do the people that we have so many licenses, do they all use it? That's the first step of trying to say, what equals value? But that works for about 6 months. Then leadership says, okay, great, we're getting that, but what else is it doing? How else is it changing the way we work? And so you start to look at things like, is it saving our employees time? Are they doing things different? Those types of measures. And Jerem and Keith will talk about some of those for their work that they're doing together. And the reality is, until you find that value, until you find the thing that help your employees or you as a company change the way we work, it's really tough to drive that adoption. Technology for the sake of technology, that's one thing. But the reality is it has to be connected to driving more value for your organization. The other theme that we see that's really interesting is, you guys have probably seen this throughout the years, there's different types of technology. There's things that you deploy and instantly, right? You get the usage. Everyone starts adopting. We all know those types of products. I'm actually leaving out product names on purpose because it's technology across the board. And then there are those that have to require a change in their behavior. Those things you push live, you put out a little learning, you hope they're doing that, but it doesn't really start to drive the usage until you have, and I'm just going to call it a strategic activity. Jeremy and Keith will share what they're doing to start that movement, to start the human, start to engage and get that value from that product. We see this over and over, and so it takes a different mindset, it takes a different approach. When you're saying this is behavioral change, we need to approach this different, who else needs to be involved? And that is really the key here is training just doesn't equal adoption. We throw out training, we do great training, it's super needed, and it will help them understand how to use the product, and we invest in it, it's a part of the journey, but that doesn't drive adoption by itself because, again, we're going back to it has to have value. They have to see how this helps them get their job done so that they can go home, so they can do the things that they want to do in their lives. So we've seen this over and over as training is really rolled out. And many customers we've gone and met with have said, but I've done the training. We built this great platform and then go in and see how to use these products. Great, that's good. But it's part of it. It isn't the full solution, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Another big thing is new roles coming in to the market. The days of IT doing this alone are gone. It's a team effort. It's a group effort. And if you can understand your organization and look at the pockets of people that can help you with this, internal comms, and these are new roles that we're starting to see. If you go onto LinkedIn, you will find people with these titles that can help with this. Between a success owner, digital transformation manager, like all of these things, and many of you probably have these titles, are the area that they're asking for help with technology. How do we link technology to our employees and help them do their work better and be more productive? And we're right in the middle of this human transformation. We're all seeing it. The movement from face-to-face to more flexible working locations. Most people nowadays work one day out, come back in at least once a week, right? Being able to have the technology that allows that flexibility, being able to contribute to that. Other things that are changing, really the flat organization, and specifically how communication goes out. Does it all need to be via email through this specific group or through a meeting and all hands? No. How do we share information quickly so that people can adjust and go? And then security. Security is a hot topic. We're spending a lot of time. Satya, others are all talking about it this week. Security is forefront of all of our minds. So this is something that we are seeing in all the organizations that we're working with. Here's a list of a few of them that we partner with, but really this is something that everyone's dealing with. And so as you think about, is this just my org? Is this just my group? Is this just my company? No. Everyone from the biggest to the smallest is trying to figure out how to crack this. Because it's a different mindset, because it isn't as simple as just deploy and people will adopt. It changes the way that we have to engage with them. And so again, my focus is really to get these guys, the experts, who every day are in the middle of it, sharing with you. So they're going to share, and then we're going to leave some time at the end for questions. So as you have questions about how they're doing it or how you should think about doing it, we want to leave that time. So with that, I'd love to turn the time over to Keith, who's going to come up and share with us about Emeticis.
Thank you. Hopefully the audio is working pretty well. So my name's Keith Blanchard, and I get the great pleasure of leading technology for Emeticis. How many families, just quick show of hands, have had a family member, loved one, friend that's gone through home care or hospice care? Okay, for a few. So for you, those who are not familiar with those, Emeticis operates in the post-acute space. That means that we get patients after some type of event, either a hospital or a visit to the doctor, that they're seeking some type of care. They could have fallen, had surgery, heart failure, suffering from dementia, and so they're looking for care, or in the case of hospice, seeking comfort towards the end of their life. We operate in the place where the patients are most comfortable, in their home. And that's really the future of healthcare. And if you look at where healthcare is going, more and more activities are being brought into the home. So as government policies change, or different presidents get elected, or however that changes, we need to be there. And a portion of how Emeticis can get there and needs to get there is via better communication. And so we went and started looking at the Microsoft 365 platform and said, all right, how can we use this to help out? And so we've put together a video, and we'll show you kind of the internal campaign that we're starting.
We are passionate about our people. That's why it's so important to connect our clinicians with our purpose and mission, which in turn provides better care for our patients. It just makes sense.
Clinicians are the heart of Emeticis. That's why I feel the community of support that we have built and continue to build is vitally important for us to do your best work. Our care centers are our lifelines. They are the hub of our daily operations. So it's critical that you feel connected to the caregivers in your care center.
In my care center, we're a family. We're in this together, whether it's taking care of patients, reaching out, seeing what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So we want to be able to communicate, share information, whether it's patient-related, wound care, or it's personal. How are your grandkids? How are your puppies today? We want to be able to take our care center and have it be wherever you are.
We are a company of people who care. While it is easy to get caught up in the day-to-day responsibilities of your job, at our core, we're people taking care of people. We look after our patients, and we look out for each other. We have a unique collection of personalities and perspectives, and that allows us to be an industry leader. But more importantly, it's where we find our strength. We need to be great communicators. So my invitation today is that we all become active contributors at Emeticis. Share during patient care conferences. Give feedback during our pulse surveys. Listen to podcasts, particularly mine, that's a joke. Connect with your peers across the country on Yammer. Stay up to date with Emeticis at work and engage with your care center on Teams. Let's care together.
If anybody that is from Emeticis has actually listened, that's not a joke. Paul actually wants you to listen to his podcast. Believe me, you have to kind of track the metrics on that. But when we looked at this, we originally thought, you know what, this will be a great way for us to push out information and communication about a lot of the initiatives we have going on. Right? There's a lot of change going on within our industry. So we say, great, a way for corporate to get information out to the field. And then we kind of pivoted and thought back about that and said, you know what? Email's been around forever. People understand how it gets used, and yet we still have click rates varying between 1 to 10% from a clinician. And we said, all right, we got to do something different. We gotta have to look at how is it that we need to do. Because if they're not even checking email, how are they just going to look at this new tool? We have to understand what is it about their workflow, what is it about their process that we can get involved in so that this can become pivotal to what we do, which is take care of patients. And so I might not look like the smartest person in the world, but I brought in some help. And so I went to our president of our home health business line, and I went to our head of sales, and a little bit of that self-preservation, right? You don't want to mess up your biggest business, and you want to make sure sales is happy. But we kind of looked at them and said, all right, we need your help in understanding how we can change the workflow for our clinicians. We need that to understand what those differences are. The second piece is on the onboarding. There's two big reasons why onboarding is important for us. One, it kind of gets set as the culture, right? We can start as we bring in somebody new, make sure they understand the culture of our company and how we communicate. In our business and in our industry, in most healthcare, we have high 20% turnover rate. So we're constantly having to bring on new clinicians and understand how they can understand the tools and how they need to get used. The second piece is in our home health business, there's some major payment reform taking place. This isn't insider information, but if you wanted to look, our CEO has been quoted that we have 2,000 companies on our acquisition target list for this next year. We anticipate the industry says about 20% of our competitors will not be able to make payroll within a year. So when you think about what type of transition and that's going to do for your business, when you're quickly bringing on new employees, you have to do it well. And you have to make sure that you can provide it in an easy format. So part of what we're doing is building out an onboarding app within Teams. So not only a way for those new employees to understand, how to fill out a tax form, how to do direct deposit, the basic onboarding stuff, but also a way for them to understand what does it mean to be part of a connected care center? What does it mean to communicate effectively? What does it mean to take care of patients? Because in the end, our ultimate goal is to make sure that we can provide the best patient care possible. And so that's a lot of kind of where we're focused in on. The other big piece is when you kind of look at where we're at here is moving forward. So when we look at kind of the innovation that needs to take place within the business and within the industry, so much of it's based on data, right? If you look at healthcare generally, it's, all right, what kind of data do I have of you? What kind of insights can I glean? And what kind of appropriate action can I do to take care of you better? And so when you think about kind of what is it that we can capture from this data to make sure we take better care of our patient, when I asked you to raise your hand earlier about your friend or family member, the reason why I do what I do is for my father-in-law. So my father-in-law had home health for several years, suffering from a lung disease. He passed away the day he was going to be admitted into hospice care. He could have had a better care plan, right? He could have had better comfort towards the end of his life. He could have had comfort for the family. But instead, maybe we missed something along the lines of kind of where that transition should have happened. And you look at that from a business and say, you know what, we operate several business lines. How is it that we weren't communicating between these effectively? How is that impacting patient care? How is it that we can then communicate with other providers outside of Amedisys to make sure that we're doing the best thing as we're the person inside the home helping make sure they take care of it? So it's those views when I start to look at where is it that we're going to innovate, where is it that we're going to adopt, where is it we're going to drive, it's that ultimate goal. How is it that we can take better care of your friends, your family members, my father-in-law, to make sure that we're doing the things the right way? And so part of that, Jerem's going to come up and talk a little bit more about kind of how we're changing some of the information flow and some of the different things that we're doing. But I appreciate y'all listening in just a little bit about kind of where Amedisys is at and how we're adopting this new culture of change.
Thank you, Keith. You guys hear me all right? So Keith's fantastic, right? I met Keith, was it 5-6 months ago now? I recently went and visited one of these care centers, and it's crazy what these people do. Like, they're dealing with such stressful situations. And when I think about that original request, which was how do we help corporates speak better to the field, that request it went totally out the window when we realized that those care center clinicians, they just wanted to feel connected to each other. It was such a human request. It was such a real thing that we had to understand. And that's driving everything that we are doing. When we have our conversations with Paul, the CEO, or with Sharon, the CHRO, it's not about teams. It's not about the technology. It's about the people. That's what this is all about. So, quick raise of hands. Who here is not in IT? Who's not IT? Like 6? Okay, that's kind of good. I was expecting maybe 12, but 6 will work. Let me start with a parable. So there is 2 young boys. They were on a playground. One is 6, one is 7. One of those boys is from New Zealand. There we go, we have a Kiwi. 2 Kiwis, any more Kiwis? 3. That's nearly as many people as aren't in IT. So these 2 kids, the Kiwi boy, he looks over at his new mate and says, "That's an interesting accent. Where are you from?" "I'm from Texas." Who's from Texas here? Anyone from Texas? Okay, this will be interesting. "I'm from Texas." And the little Kiwi boy goes, "What's Texas?" Texas? Texas is like the biggest state in the world. Wow, Texas sounds pretty big. Texas is so big. Everything's big in Texas. The food's big. The drinks are big. The boots are big. The hats are big. The belt buckles are big. Everything's big. Oh, wow, that sounds like things are big in Texas. My dad's got a car, and it's big. Cars? Oh my goodness, my dad's car, my dad's truck, my mom's truck, my uncle's truck, my auntie's truck, my uncle's truck, my uncle's truck, my grandpa's truck, my grandma's truck. They're so big you like have to climb into the truck. Texas is so big. My grandpa's farm is so big that it takes like a whole day to drive to the other end. Wow, that's a big farm your grandpa's got. Texas is so big that that's where they launch rockets into space from. Like rockets, like space rockets. Yeah, rockets. In fact, we were the first ones to put a man on the moon. Now at this point, our little Kiwi boy, he's feeling a little kind of insecure. And so he goes, "Oh, that's nothing. We're gonna send a man to the sun. Yeah, we're gonna go to the sun." And there's an obvious awkward pause. You can't go to the sun. Like as soon as you get close, you're gonna burn up. You can't go to the sun. And then all of a sudden, this Kiwi boy has a surge of confidence, and he proclaims, "That's all right, bro. We're going to go at night." Now, the reason I tell you this story is because we often speak the same language, but we don't understand each other. There's a disconnect. This conference is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to learn, for all of us to grow, for all of us to get new insights about the features and functionality that the new software that Microsoft is giving us is going to do for us and for our companies. And we're going to go back to our organizations, and we're going to get them all hyped up, and we're going to have training sessions, and we're going to say, "You can now do this," and it's amazing. And everyone's going to go, "Wow, that's so cool." And what happens on the next day? Nothing. They go back to what they were doing. And you're all frustrated. You're like, but I went to an event. We worked hard. I sat through so many hours of people talking about features and functionality. Why? Why? What's interesting here is that, actually, I'm going to change gears real quick. In 1990, there was two friends, and those two friends were playing a game of tennis. One was a civil court judge, and the other was an English literature teacher, at a professor at a local university. And as they're rallying back and forth, they're having a conversation about a frustration they both share, and that is this idea that the criminal justice system is broken. It's not working, and we're frustrated. The result of that was a program called the Changing Lives Through Literature Initiative. And what they did is they took convicts who had recently released from prison, and they put them through a literature course where they read some of the greatest works that people have written throughout history. This program was an amazing success. What it did is it took those criminals that went through this, less than 25% of them recommitted a crime. On the other hand, the control group, over 45% were likely to recommit a crime. The cost of putting someone through that experience was $5,000. The cost of housing a criminal for a year was over $30,000. We saw bottom line impact, right away. That's what we're looking for when we put these changes in place, right? Productivity. We want to see those results. But for me, the main change, the thing that was really, really interesting about this is the ripple effect that this had, right? People took the innovation, they took this creative thinking that these two tennis buddies were able to come up with on a court, and they turned it into something even bigger. Local towns were able to do this at their local level. Countries were able to implement it. I think Italy actually would take time off people's sentences if they read a book, right? The number of books equaled a certain number of months off. That ripple effect is what we need to figure out. It was a human thing, right? And that principle is so important. When we combine that principle of things getting lost in translation and this other idea of creativity, we start to see opportunities. Now, this image here, you probably recognize this, right? This is a familiar idea, right? Where this is the path of communication we often have to submit ourselves to because that's the way it's done. And there's nothing wrong with this. This works. But what if there's another way to do it? What if it looks a little different? One of the things that I see in the work that I do every day is that when we introduce new ways of working, when we introduce new ways of thinking about the way we communicate, we often end up in this. This is an example of what happens in our social lives as consumers, right? We're information clusters. We don't have a manager to tell us where to go, what to do, or how to do it. We naturally form these clusters. And then the information is taken from one cluster to another very naturally through human interaction. It doesn't have to follow a corporate hierarchy or structure. The value of that, ultimately, information is popping up in different places and then going to another area, and it's doing that naturally. We're able to see where help, comes from. People are helping each other. We're showing more empathy, inclusion, accepting new ideas, trying out new ideas, seeing if they stick, right? Seeing if they're cooked enough to be able to go into that next phase. Some of the things that we've seen because of this style of communication, and by the way, the software that we're talking about while we're here, the hardware we're talking about while we're here, that's what drives this. It facilitates this experience. Without it, we are back to emails and meetings and that kind of structure. We have to have the software, but the software facilitates the type of engagement that we're looking for. Some of the things that I've seen, inboxes are halved, right? Who wouldn't mind that? In fact, when I did it, when we switched this way, I went from 150 to 200 emails a day. Now I get about 10. Everything we do is in this social infrastructure. Conversations are more inclusive. They're more diverse. And that can only be a good thing when we're trying to innovate, when we're trying to explore different ways to be better. Search. Instead of typing in that search wherever and then spending hours looking for something and actually end up finding an old document that's been replaced by another document that lives somewhere completely different, now we can just ask. Now we just put it out there to the crowd and something good's going to come back. Sometimes something, that's not always good, but AI, right? When we work this way, AI has something to mine. AI can go through all the information that's out there and find you things that you didn't even know you needed. That pushes you forward faster. It gives you more accurate information. One of the things I really like is the idea of meetings being shortened, right? In fact, my invitation, this is the crazy invitation for the day, is what if we try and have no more back-to-back meetings? What if we can take a beat? What if we can have a breath between a meeting, right? A meeting now doesn't need to be half an hour, and now it could be a post with that's a quick read, a comment, and a couple of likes, and we accomplish the same thing that we accomplished in those meetings. Until someone in your organization has the boldness, the courage to try something new, to introduce maybe a different way of working, we're not going to be able to break that mold. So let's get a bit more strategic here. And these are things that we do every single day with our clients. First of all, what we've been talking today about is this human movement. That movement doesn't have to start with a leader saying, hey, this is what we do, right? Think about the way Instagram works, the way YouTube works, the way Facebook and Twitter, whatever it is. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a celebrity or someone that tells you what to do and then all of a sudden we follow. That influence, that idea of influence is democratized. That's what we said in the video, right? That ability for that information to come from anywhere is really, really powerful. And that's what you can do in each of your organizations. How do you do that? Create a movement. Create a micro movement that mirrors what's happening on the information that Dan shared, right? That idea that this is a human experience. When we grow when we want to create these micro movements, we function like a community, right? The way a community grows. Someone innovates, a couple more people validate. That validation creates evidence. That evidence in the form of data, in the form of best practices, in the form of the stories of those people who are creating that evidence. We need to share that. That's what's going to allow a leader to buy into this idea. Next, find your reason. This is probably the most important thing that you can take away from today's experience. What is the reason you're doing this? The reason cannot be because I deployed teams, therefore we have to use teams, right? It has to be a reason that drives something related to your business. What is the KPI that is attached to a piece of the vision that you're trying to accomplish? Look at your company's vision and say, you know what? We can have an impact here. We can do something. Now let's find the business group that has the most impact on that idea, that reason, that thing, that vision. And then who are the influencers within that group? Right? We start kind of getting down to that point where we now start to see the faces of the people who are going to be starting this movement within your organization. And then we do that again with another group somewhere else in the organization. And we start creating enough evidence to prove that there is something here, people. There is something that we can build on, something that we can do to show that this new way of working is going to allow other people to see that they can do the same thing, just like our tennis buddies. Next, let the technology help you. Right? Like I just said, don't do this because you've just deployed teams. And I know that's a tendency. I deal with this every single day. And it's good intentioned, but it's going to be a lot harder in the long run, right? You get that spike and then it drops down and then there's this kind of slow, long effort to get the adoption to happen. Instead of doing that, you start slower and then slowly grow, and your curve is going to be stronger and ultimately have more impact. And then lastly, think about how this influences or impacts company culture. I'm huge on culture. That's my thing, right? Culture, changing culture. My background's in advertising. Like, that's where I started my career. And when you think about an ad, when you think about the commercials, the good commercials that you really like, they're teaching culture. They're not teaching instructions on how to drink a beer or how to, use Instagram or whatever that ad may be, right? These are cultural shifts that emotionally touch you. That's what we've got to create. We've got to create meaning for the people who are going to be making this change. Lastly, when you think about the people who will be helping you do this inside your organization, when you think about the faces of why they're doing what they're doing, and Dan kind of alluded to this, you start to think about, yes, this is ultimately wanting to drive corporate change. Yes, we want to hit our goals quicker. We want to make this about productivity, and productivity is a big part of what we're trying to do. But those are variables in the equation. And what's important is that we don't miss out on probably the most important variable, and that is you, each one of you. That's me. That's us as individuals creating a human change for us. We have to change the way we work. It's a paradigm shift that we have to deal with personally. And we each have to find the reason as to why we're doing that. That's why this is an emotional plea. For me, for Keith, right? Keith just mentioned why he does what he does. For me, it's about 2:30 to 3:30. That's when my kids get home. And I used to work from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. It was a really short day. It was awesome. But now I'm home when my kids get home. And they have their guards down, and they talk about their day. Why are you doing this? You, the person in this room listening to this right now, why are you making this change? It's not about teams, people. It's about you evolving the way you work. It's about you finding your 2:30 to 3:30 and saying, that's what's important to me. And this is going to facilitate my transformation as a human. Thank you.
See if this works. So, wrap, what we wanted to do is really, one, this is the kickoff of Adoption Change Management, the track that you guys have signed up for, are participating in. We have many other sessions from other people on my team, other partners, other groups. You can see these sessions here. We also have a booth that we will be at, participating and working with. You can see the booth here. But to wrap, what we really wanted to do, and I appreciate, this is, as you guys think about it, day to day, we're heads down trying to deploy these things, trying to make these things work within our organization. This is a tricky one for us. As we talked last night, we spent some time together. The time, what is the time? How long should this take? This is not a typical thing because it's based on the factors within your organization that you guys need help to figure out how to do that. Whether you're connected to a great internal group, whether you use a partner, whether you leverage the content and the things that we create and help, wherever you need to be, that's what we're wanting to do as Microsoft. And so that's where, as we have seen, Jerem and other partners, this is what they do every day. They're engaging with multiples. To be able to have that assistance, or to be able to, if you have that capability in your group, to be able to do it yourself, awesome. Let us help and support. But we realize it's different, and we realize we're here, and we need to help facilitate that with you. And so that's what we're committed to as a team. That's why we have these sessions and the booth that you're welcome to stop by. With that, I'd like to open it up. If anyone has any questions, thoughts for these guys, and again, we'll stick around after and also be at the booth later today. Any questions? Yeah, come on up. There's a mic right here if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
How do you differentiate between bad tech and poor adoption? If they just don't adopt it, is it because you did a bad job with change management, or is it just bad tech?
So I'll take a first stab at that. Typically, what I'm finding is that it's not bad tech, right? There may be a question about the deployment and what's made available and what's not, but to me, it's typically an understanding of why you're making that change, right? So a change, and this is where IT, I feel, is getting a bad rep because it's not about IT. This isn't about just IT deploying a service. To me, this is about human transformation, and that's a really hard thing for just IT to be able to explain to the whole organization. Just like Keith talked about, it required pretty much the whole C-suite to understand why the company was making this shift, before that became a message that resonated throughout the organization. So to me, the tool is secondary, and the reason why you're making that change is primary.
Well, I mean, I think when I talked about email, right? I mean, email's been around for a while. Is it bad tech that people aren't adopting it or looking at it? And that's the thing we had with clinicians, right? I mean, they're not using it, and I don't think it's the tech that's doing it. And so it's a matter of how can we integrate what they do to really have this make a difference. And that's the human side of it. So for the most part, tech's, I mean, I'm a chief technology officer, right? I mean, tech's good. I love tech. I can use it everywhere, but there's always some more tools. But it's understanding the why, and that's, I think, more of when you look at it. I mean, there's some tweaks and some settings. In fact, one of my directors came to me and said, "Are you sure this is secure? Because it's just so easy to use," right? So that gives you an understanding of bad tech maybe previously encountered, but it's more of the adoption piece.
I'll just say one thing. Let's see if my mic, I'll just say one thing. Yesterday, Brad Anderson announced we have another part of my team does what we call the productivity score, and trying to help you drive the value and assess how is tech performing. There's two parts of this productivity score that he announced. One part is the technology side. Truly, is it working for us? Because if it's bad tech, meaning not upload time, all of those things, it really hurts the ability to get people to use. The other side is, what are the opportunities we have to help people engage more, be more collaborative, and we have a score and other things that can help you guys to facilitate that. But that is kind of one of those pushes that if we're having some of those technical issues, it's really tough to do adoption. So trying to clear that, get the foundation in place so that we can drive this. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi. Do you have any recommendations on what I would call why tools like this? I use the 6 sources of influence quite a lot just to work through kind of how people think about things from an individual, peer level, organization level. I found that super helpful in any plan. Are there other tools that you're familiar with that just help you think the right way behaviorally?
Your gut. Go with your gut. So think about how many years you have in your role, in your organization, your experience. Trust that. That's the tool I would go with, the first thing. Yes, there are a bunch of tools, and Dan can probably talk about tools. But for me, I like to talk to my clients. I like to understand why you're doing what you're doing, what experience tells you. Like I just sat down with a client, they got 1.2 million first-line workers, right? That's a lot of people to think about. And they started talking about, this is how we would roll it out to them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, how do you think they feel about that, right? And all of a sudden, they started talking about their people. There's a passion that they have for who their people are and how they work. And from that, we discovered a whole bunch of goodness of they knew what to do. They knew their people. They knew how they were going to react. So go with your gut. Like, to me, that's the first level. And then start comparing and contrasting of how other stakeholders are feeling about it. And you'll find those people. The names will start popping up.
I'll just say 2 things on that. One, stop by the booth. We have all our resources, some of those checklists to help facilitate the conversation. That's great. The other thing is, as I've been getting to know Jerem and his work, oftentimes what he'll do is go into these organizations and find the pockets of little usage of Teams and go talk to them and say, why is it working? What is going on? And then he leverages that to then build the momentum he was talking about. And it's really just pausing, finding those little pockets. It's sometimes 2 or 3 people.
That's what we did with the Metasis.
Yeah, and then they find those pockets, and then that's where they build these stories that then builds that momentum. And the life-changing, as I heard the story for the first time of a Metasis, of really these people just out on their own trying to get help from their peers and texting, hoping that that would work, right? The reality is there's better ways to help them be connected, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, the video showed like a patient care conference. That's the 1 hour out of 1 day a week that our nurses go into our locations. Other than that, they're making patient visits. They're driving to their next visit. They're documenting. And so there's not a lot of interaction. And so there's a lot of isolation in that terms. And they're kind of out there on their own. So making sure that they've got the right connections. Do you have a question? Yeah,
my name is Charlotte. I wanted to ask you, we saw that video, and that was some kind of, some of the people that work at your company, but what about all the rest? I'm thinking HR, finance, sales, the use case scenarios for those people. It's not the same, I guess, as for
It's
the clinical
different.
people. So how did you do some surveys, or how did you kind of dig into those departments, how to do, does the people work, and what works for them, and what are their needs and so on?
Yeah, so what we're talking about there is our connected care center, right? Those are our 500 locations that are actually out touching the patients. And that's where we had the biggest gap. From a corporate perspective, we did, I think, probably what most companies do is I put out a flyer and said, hey, who's interested in helping change the way you do business and transform the way your organization works? And then those people became my champions. And then I worked with them and helped them understand, right, how is this going to make a difference in your organization? And it's not perfect. I mean, it's not perfect. We were in a meeting the other day, and we're hearing all these complaints about stuff, and I'm like, great, there's a champion on the phone for that business, and they're not really stepping up. But it's understanding, right, how can they understand to do it? And so that's how we went at from a corporate perspective to really drive utilization. And there are big pockets of where people have really taken off there. And then there's some that they need nurturing, right?
So we unfortunately need to cut. The next session will be coming in. But if you have other questions, just happy to chat or to meet you outside. Thanks.